students, today in botany classes, in 11th botany, which topic is going to discuss about is namely called as mineral nutritions. In mineral nutrition, today which topic is going to be classified is namely called as special mode of nutritions. Before entering the title, what is the definitions of nutritions? Nutrition is nothing but is a process. You know that several process like respiration, photosynthesis, transpiration, like nutrition also one of the important process. Such a process, what is at play as an important is commonly called as uptake and utilizations of nutrients by living organism. So all living organism to be survival means it's need nutrients. That to say, uptake and utilization of nutrients by living organism, that is commonly called as nutritions. So based on the productivity of nutritions, the nutrition can be classified as a two types, namely autotropic mode of nutrition the second one, heterotrophic mode of nutrition. First of all, autotropic mode of nutrition. What is the meaning commonly called as auto? That means commonly called as self. So without influence of any organism or without influence of any other organism, the organism itself, they can prepare food itself. That is commonly called as autotropic mode of nutrition. So based on the prepare the food material, autotropic mode of nutrition is further classified as two types, namely photoautotrophs, then chemoautotrophs. What do you mean that photoautotrophs? Photo, that means light. So, some of the living organism, in the presence of light, it prepare food materials for one. Because all green plants, it must be considered that categories. Because the green plants usually trap atmospheric sunlight and uptake of water and mineral salts. The green leaves which contain chlorophyll pigments, with the help of chlorophyll pigments, it is responsible to prepare food itself. That's a commonly called as photoautotrophs. So what is the example is commonly called as all green plants. Second thing, chemoautotrophs. So you know that meaning autotrophs means it's more. Some organism, in the presence of chemical, it prepare food materials for more. To be called chemo, that means commonly called as chemical. So in the presence of chemical, some organism is responsible for prepare food itself. That is commonly called as chemoautotrophs. Can I discuss the second one is commonly called as heterotrophic mode of nutrition. What do you mean commonly called as heterotrophic mode of nutrition? Heterotroph means lack of chlorophylls. So there is no availability of chlorophyll molecules. In the absence of chlorophyll molecule, some of the organism, it cannot prepare food materials for own. It's want to be food means it's generally depending on other host of the organism. So, what are the organism cannot possible prepare food itself, or otherwise known as which organism, if you want food to be depend on other organism, that organism should be considered as heterotrophic mode of nutrition. So based on the depending nature, Heterotrophic mode of nutrition can be classified as various types. First one, saprophytic nutrition. Saprophytic mode of nutrition. Second one, parasitic mode of nutrition. Third one, symbiotic mode of nutrition. Fourth one, insectivorous mode of nutrition. Can I go to the first one, saprophytic mode of nutrition? So what is the definitions of saprophytic mode of nutrition? I am already indicating to you. Saprophytic mode of nutrition, it must be comes under heterotrophic mode of nutrition. You know what is the meaning of heterotrophic? So lack of chlorophyll, those organisms, it is a completely depending on other organism. So saprophytic mode of nutrition is commonly called as the living organism. If you want food means it is a depending on dead and decaying matter. So if you want food mean, it's get nourishment from dead and decaying matter. So what is the good example for saprophytic is commonly called as bacteria and fungi. It's not only bacteria and fungi, it comes under mode of nutrition. Some of the angiosperm plants also having saprophytic mode of nutrition. You know what is the meaning of angiosperm? Flowering plants. So flowering plants also having saprophytic mode of nutrition. What is the example? Neotia. So the roots of Neotia, which is associated to mycorrhiza. So Neotia, it is commonly called as bird nest of orchids. So the roots of Neotia, it is associated mycorrhiza. It get nourishment as saprophytes. In addition, one more example is commonly called as Monotropa. So Monotropa also it is angiosperm plants, but Monotropa plants, which place it's responsible for well grow is commonly called as humus rich in soil. Where the humus rich in available is commonly called as in thick forest. So Monotropa, it comes under angiosperm plants. It is generally grow on humus rich in soil, particularly found in thick forest. These Monotropa also it is associated with mycorrhiza. Can I go to the second one is commonly called as parasitic mode of nutrition. What are the commonly called as parasites? If you want food, the living organism get nourishment from other living organism. That is commonly called as a parasite. Which organism depends on other? The other organism that must be considered as host. The living organism, it must be cause the disease in host organism, also that can responsible produce pastoral root. So based on the nature, the parasites can be classified as two types. One is the called obligate or total parasite. Second thing, partial parasite. So what is meaning commonly called as obligate? Completely, fully, that's a commonly called as total parasite. So what is that definitions of total parasite? Any one of the living organism, if you want food, if you want water, if you want mineral, if you want anything means, it is a complete depending on host organism. That to be say commonly called as it is an obligate or a total parasite. So based on the nature, the total parasite, it can be further classified as two types. Total stem parasite total root parasite. What are the commonly called as examples of total stem parasite? That is, example is commonly called as Cuscuta. What is the speciality of in Cuscuta or total stem parasite is commonly called as? It is generally weak stem as well as is a colorless stems. The stem will not possible to be erect. The kinds of stem usually it can found on another plant, but it responsible produce hostorial root. Using hostorial root that must be penetrate the host stem. The hostorial roots it must be connect both the xylem and the phloem. From xylem it is obtained water and mineral salts. From phloem it's obtained from food. So I am already tell about you. If you want the food, if you want water, if you want the minerals, everything it must be depending on the host. That is a commonly called as total parasite. In particularly, which are the examples of total stem parasites commonly called as Cuscuta, because it is a pale yellow leafless stem. That is a stem which is a wiry and coil-like structure which twine the host. After that, it responsible producing hostorial root. That root is penetrate the host. From that, it must be obtained water and minerals as well as the food. That Cuscuta, it is generally varies occurs commonly called as plants of zizibus and citrus. In Tamil to be say elandai, citrus just lemon. These kinds of plants are faced, that kinds of Cuscuta they may be appear. Then for the total root parasite, what the example is commonly called as Rafflesia or Rabanch. and Balanospora. Those are that examples of total root parasite. What are the characteristic features of total root parasite commonly called as? These plants will not possible to erect stems like total stem parasites. So that such a kinds of parasite it must be occur only in inner to the roots. But the responsible producer Hastoria. Using Hastoria inner to root, it can obtain water and mineral salts. That is commonly called as total root parasites. Can I go to that second one called partial parasites? What is the meaning of meaning called partial? 50-50. Why it will be considered 50-50 or partial? Sometimes the people such as say you have to treat as a partiality. Like this to be here, partial parasite. So what are the definitions commonly called as? These kinds of organism having chlorophyll molecules. You know that. What are the organisms? They may be possess chlorophyll molecule. Those organisms it responsible for prepare food itself with the help of sunlight, with the help of water, with the help of chlorophyll molecules. So these kinds of plants having greeny pigments. So prepare food, but cannot obtain water and mineral salts. Due to one water and mineral salt, these organisms also depend on some other organism. So for partially food prepare, no need at all. But if you want water and mineral salt, it needed to some other organism. So that to say partial parasite. But these organisms also which root to be utilized to be obtain water and mineral salt in commonly called as Hastoria roots. So based on this utility, it is also can be classified as a two types, namely partial stem parasite partial root parasite. You know the meaning of partial, okay. What are the examples of partial stem parasite? You know that. Example, Loranthus and Viscum. So those are that examples of partial stem parasite. So what are the characteristic features of Loranthus and Viscum? The Loranthus plant and the Viscum plants, it is generally grow on surface of stem. Which plants it can be generally it is occur as a commonly called as fig and mango. So the Loranthus it's occur in that stem and the fig of mango. From fig and mango, the Loranthus plants it can be obtained water and mineral salt from xylem. The last one, partial root parasite. Partial root parasite generally is occur Sandalum album. This is the binomial name of sandalwood tree. In juvenile stage, sandalwood plant which is responsible to produce the Hastoria root. So in partial roots which may be found on many kinds of plants. Can I go to discuss about the third one is commonly called as symbiotic mode of nutrition. What is the symbiotic? The mutual relationship between two organisms. Both are is a beneficial. That is the definition of symbiotic mode of nutrition. In symbiotic mode of nutrition can be classified as various categories. The first one, lichen. So lichen, they may be possess mutual relationship of between algae and fungi. So in the plants, algae is responsible for prepare food. Fungi is responsible for uptake of water and the mineral salts, as well as fungi is responsible to produce thallus-like structure. That is the first symbiotic mode of nutrition, namely called as lichens. Second thing, mycorrhiza or mycorrhizae. Mycorrhizae is nothing but is a fungus. That fungus having mutual relationship of roots of higher plants, including gymnosperm. A gymnosperm which is responsible having that kinds of capabilities commonly called as pinus. The third one is commonly called as rhizobium. And the legumes. So rhizobium is nothing but it's a bacteria. Legume is leguminous plant. It comes from the Fabaceae member. So what are the characteristic features of rhizobium and the legumes commonly called as? The mutual relationship or the association between two different kinds of organism. What is the capability that may be occur the rhizobium and the legumes commonly called as? To fix atmospheric nitrogen. To fix atmospheric nitrogen. When I go to the fourth one is commonly called as cyanobacteria and the coralloid roots. So cyanobacteria is commonly called as it is a blue-green algae. Coralloid root, it's are generally found in gymnosperms. In gymnosperm, which plant there may be process commonly called as cycas. So that association that must be occur cycas and the cyanobacteria. Which is cyanobacteria? It is generally it must be occur the cyanus plant is commonly called as nastar. So nastar associated with coralloid root. Can I go to fourth one mode of nutrition that is commonly called as insectivorous. Mode of nutrition. In general, insectivorous plants are generally it must be grow some special soil or some special area Why that kinds of plant that can be grow such a kinds of place mean because of that due to deficiency of nitrogen. Okay, how that kinds of plants in order to overcome that kinds of deficiency? That's why those plants insectivorous capability or insectivorous habitat to resolve nitrogen deficiency. So in order to deficiency of nitrogen, those plants having the capability to trap insect from that insect it is obtained nitrogen. That is commonly called as insectivorous plants. Then insectivorous plants can I discuss. The first one is commonly called as Nepenthes. How to be considered Nepenthes is commonly called as it's a pitcher plant. Pitcher is look like a jar-like structure. In Nepenthes, in plant part which is modified as a Nepenthes or pitcher. So lamina is modified into pitcher. This is a leaf tip, this is a lamina. So the lamina or the leaf is modified into pitcher. So look like a jar. So lid is a mouth. The mouth it contains a lot of sticky glands are there and also highly attractive. You know that which one is so beauty, it's so dangerous, do you know? Likewise, in mouth, a number of glands is there, it is a highly bright color is there, so it attract to insect so that the insect try to sit on that mouth. When it sit, that time the lid should be closed. When closed, the insect going inner to them. That time, the inner to the rim that contain number of hair-like projections are there. Finally, the insect will be killed. After that, the pitcher plant the responsible produce digestive enzyme that is commonly called as proteolytic enzyme. With the help of proteolytic enzyme, the protein is digested. After that completely digested, the lid should be opened. That is commonly called as pitcher plant is commonly called as Nepenthes. The rim or mouth, it's so many kinds of glands are there. It's highly attractive. With the help of attractive, the insect to sit on that mouth, the lid will be closed. Finally, the insect will be killed. From that, the proteins are obtained. Finally digested with using the enzyme is commonly called proteolytic enzyme. After digested, the lid should be opening. Can I go to the second one? Drosera. What is that? Drosera. Drosera is also called sundew plant. Here in Drosera, the plant is modified into look like numerous hair-like or club-like tentacles are there. There are numerous club-like or finger-like projections are there. The tip of the tentacle, which secrete sticky glands. That glands, it must be appear look like dew. That to be called, it is dew plants. Now come to the point. When that insect sit on the tip of the tentacles, because the tentacles is highly sensitivity. With the help of resolving or with the help of sensitivity nature, when that insect sit on them, at the same time all tentacles are curved inward. Because the tip of the tentacles are having insect, with the help of curve, all tentacle inside mean, with the help of pressure, the insect which leads to death. After that, the Drosera plant is responsible for producing secretory enzyme. You know that already I am indicating to you. It is namely called as proteolytic enzyme. With the help of enzyme, the protein is digested. After completely digested, the protein it must be evenly distributed entire or whole plants. After distributing entire plants, the tentacles again it must becomes under normal position. It is expecting it must be done the same work again and again. That is commonly called as Drosera. It is also called sundew plants. Can I go to third one? Insectivorous plant is commonly called as Utricularia. It is commonly called as bladderwort. In Utricularia, these kinds of plant it's usually small in shape. It is usually found in submerged plants. Because this kinds of plant is not occur to surface of water or in sludge area. These are occur submerged level, but it must responsible for floating. For the nature, the leaves are modified into bladder. So the leaves are modified into bladder because this plants is occur to submerged nature. In submerged level, there can be possess a lot of small insect is there. With the help of bladder, it must be carried. After they carry them or after they catch them, the insect responsible for kill. At the same time, they can responsible produce digestive enzyme that is namely called as a proteolytic enzyme. After completely digested, the leaves it must becomes under normal positions. The last one is commonly called as Dionia. So Dionia is also called as Venus flytrap. Here, the leaves are modified into colorful trap-like structure. As well as, apart from the other nature, here the leaves are folded into two, or also called two-folded lamina. So lamina is commonly called as expanded portion of leaf. That's a commonly called as lamina. The lamina is folded into two-leg structure. In addition, the surface of the lamina they may possess sensitivity or sensitive hair triggers are there. So that hairs are so sensitivity. When insect sit on the hair, because I'm already indicating to you, because leaves are two folded lamina. On surface of the lamina containing number of hairs are there, it's a highly sensitivity triggers. When insect try to sit on the hairs of lamina, that time the lamina will be closed. The lamina will be closed means inner to what the things are there commonly called as insect. The insect which leads to death. After death, from insect it's obtained nourishment, that is commonly called as protein is obtained from the insect. For the digestive protein at the time the plant responsible producing digestive enzyme is commonly called as proteolytic enzyme. With the help of proteolytic enzyme, the protein is completely digested that can evenly distribute to the whole plant. After that, the lamina it must be open. So that the things commonly called as insectivorous mode of nutrition. There are four categories, namely called as Nepenthes. As a commonly called as a pitcher plant. Second thing, Drosera, that is commonly called as sundew plant. The third thing, Epicularia, is a bladder wort. The fourth one, commonly called as Dionia, is a venous flytraps. So these are things. It is the end of these kinds of mineral nutrition subjects. We are discussing some other title in next class. Thank you.